All you need is just one moment to change everything.
Hmm.
So don't give up. Keep going. Whatever you do, don't give up and give it your best.
Well, thank you for sharing with the world.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the Mindful Hustle, where we decode the mindset behind momentum. I'm Donnie. If you ever felt like you're doing all the right things but not seeing the right results, this show will help you shift that at the root. Here's something wild. Psychologists have found that our belief systems are formed by age 7, and most people never update them. At Reality Realization Institute, we help you rewrite that internal script to reflect who you truly are today, not who you're told to be. You can book a free call at realityrealization.org/call. Now to today's guest. Today we have Coach Chan, a purpose empowerment coach who's passionate about helping women bounce back, show up bold, and turn their life lessons into a lifestyle purpose. In this episode, we dive into her journey of resilience, identity, and the power of choosing purpose over pain. If you're ready to rise, realign, and reclaim your voice, this one's for you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on here today.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's an honor to have you. So let's start here.
Mhm.
In your journey over the course of your life and the coaching you do and the experiences you had, was there a moment that just clicked where everything seemed to change? Maybe a mindset shift or a realization that really reshaped your path?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say one of the biggest things for me during my whole process was more personal at first before it became professional. You have those set of people that just kind of go out their way, like the person that shows up at the party and is just for no reason helping around and trying to make sure everything goes right behind the scenes. That has always been like my personality. But then there was a time of my life where just things just kind of it just felt like I was constantly going, like I was constantly in survival mode, just making sure that everybody else was around me was okay, making sure that my kids were okay, making sure family and friends were okay. And then I just, stuffed myself into a 9 to 5, right? And that was just it. So, although I was pushing everyone else to have meaning, myself, I just became complacent. Things that you learn while you were younger, not unlocking, that statistic that you just said when you're 7, you just kind of like trapped inside of that place. So I found myself just trapped inside of survival mode. No one really taught me how to live, right? So I came to a point where I was just like, I don't want to just survive. Like, I'm tired of like just going day to day and just, thriving with nothing to show for at the end of the day. And I don't mean nothing to show for as like material stuff. I mean nothing to show for it when I look in the mirror. What am I? What am I really looking at? Who am I really looking at? So it clicked. I just, went into prayer mode. I went into journaling at the time. The way that I would pour into others, I started pouring into myself, pouring into different areas of my life as far as healing goes, as far as setting boundaries, as far as seeing what it is that I like, and then reading, taking different classes, starting different businesses. So everything that, make it a lifestyle coaching is more than just textbook. I actually did the work and the walking for myself in these paths in these different areas. It was definitely challenging, but it showed me that not only do people need empowerment, but you don't really notice that you're just living day to day or surviving day to day when you're stuck in that cycle. You won't really notice it because it's like a routine. But when that time does come and you feel like there's more to it, there's other people that has also done that and also have took those steps like myself and that are willing to share that testimony, share that blueprint to say, listen, you can create your blueprint. I can share my story with you. You can create your own blueprint. And that way the generation that you have coming up under you, or maybe the generation that's watching you can see you living your truth. So, we can all just be empowered.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. And I definitely can see the insights and the journey that you've gone through. And you mentioned the type of work you've done and how that work is like the true essence of what coaching is. That when you want to be able to give that value to someone else, you also have to see it first within yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Talking it through textbook is one thing. I'm in business school now. So having such a history with business classes and just working as a Restaurant manager and operation manager, there is a difference. When you come out of school, you have to go and get the experience, right? So when you're teaching people from an easier said than done perspective. But
Mhm.
when you actually walk the walk and actually know what it is to be behind the scenes and put out fires and still have to go through the textbook and navigate and balance it, I feel like it just gives so much more meaning behind what you're doing, more behind the purpose.
So something I'm curious to know is after you've gone through this journey, after you've done all of this work, do you sometimes find yourself falling back into old patterns, whether that be doubts or worries or just low energy? And if so, what do you do to kind of get out of those states now?
That is a part of life. You can try to pretend and try to sugarcoat it and say, oh, well, you don't relapses doesn't happen, or, you don't get into these places where familiar states come back, but that's a false narrative. One thing I don't
Mhm.
want to ever give somebody is false hope. One of the things I did write was a journal called What's Next Journal. And the journal is not like anybody could grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and write something down inside the journal. What's Next Journal is just basically taking what you learn during transition, taking all the things that I learned during transition and implementing them. So whenever I do face challenges, if I'm facing similar circumstances, whenever I'm facing different things, what are the steps that I take? What are the steps that I'm going to take to keep going? For instance, going through the phase of grieving, right? Grieve, when you grieve, it just kind of happens. You don't really know that it's coming. It just happens, right? Especially for me, I lost my mother and my father.
Mhm.
What do I do in those instances, right? Do I stay in that place? Do I go back into a dark space? I can't, right? I have to keep going. You got to keep going. Life, it has to keep going forward, right? So what do you do? For me, what I found is journaling helps me to be realistic, right? It helps me to be able to find scriptures. It helps me to go into my prayer life. It helps me to find definitions and understanding for me to just keep going and balancing things. Life is going to throw you challenges, whether it's school, whether it's relationships, whether it's personal, whatever it is, you're always going to have circumstances to come about. But how you go about them is going to help you evolve. You can't just stay in a place of, you just got to be able to just keep going. So I take my time off when I need to. I reset when I need to. I refocus. Sometimes I'll shift the game plan. I'm like, you know what? This week I wanted to do 5 days, but if I can't, I'm gonna at least make it 3 days, right? If I can't make it, those 5 days inside the gym, I'll probably do 3 days at the gym and then 2 days home. Maybe I'll do a walk. Maybe I'll do something else, but I'll still trying to find different ways to make it realistic and not like some textbook pretend like, hey, everything is
Mhm.
peachy.
Okay, perfect then. I was curious to hear more about how that spiritual aspect of your life really impacted your journey and kind of gave you the inner sense and inner vision for the walk that you have in life.
It changed my life.
Hmm.
It changed my life. I was brought up in church, and I was one of those ones that I was like a rebel.
Hmm.
I was one of the rebels that was just, full of questions. I used to challenge everything. For instance, I grew up in a Haitian church and we were not allowed to wear pants. And I was just like, so we're not allowed to wear pants. And they're like, no, you're not allowed to wear pants. And I'm like, so when you go to work and you have to put on your uniform and you wear pants, is God not with you? Right. And this is me in Sunday school, right? So it goes to show you all my life, I've always had a thing where I challenge religion, I challenge church. I always knew God, but I always challenge the relationship with Jesus just because of the things that you see day to day, right? If Jesus is real, why does this happen? Or why does that happen? And I struggled with that for a while. So at one point in time in my life, I was just like, man, God, like I said, I was tired of surviving. But I knew that every time I would go to the altar, I don't know if y'all know about altar calls, when you go to the altar and you cry out and you pray, by the time you go outside, it's like everything that was okay turned upside down. It's like, dang, was better off just dealing with this in the world than going to the altar. And it took me some time to understand that Jesus is like that big brother that you need. He's that big brother because God, whenever you go to God and you pray to God, he's not going to play, right? He's not going to play with principality. He's not going to play with darkness. He's not going to play with those things. So all those areas in your life has things attached to it that are unclean. He's going to come and shake it around. So
Hmm.
if you don't have that relationship with Jesus to be able to stay focused, seek ye the kingdom of God. If you're not focusing on Jesus and actually understanding that he not only died for us, but he lived for us, you are not going to be able to handle what God is going to do in your life, because you're going to feel like he's taking things away from you. You're going to feel like all hell is breaking loose, when really he's breaking you loose from those things that are not supposed to be attached to you. So my salvation period changed my life. He
Mhm.
literally took everything that was trying to keep me back, the shame, the guilt, the hurt, frustration, that image that I created in the world. He had to show me that I needed to die to my flesh. That image had to die in order for his image to live. And that's how I'm able to really function, to be honest. I'm gonna talk about my father. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. I love him. I love him. He's changed my life. And that's one of the biggest steps inside the journal. You'll see me, go on there and tell you, hey, find 5 scriptures that relate to what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, like I said, picking up a pen and paper is easy. But if you know how to go find scriptures for yourself, if you know how to go find different things to help you during your seasons that are come about, and you know how to like research it when no one's around and you're in those dark places, or they try to drag you into those dark places, you can be able to speak life and then find light in those areas.
Yeah. It's so refreshing hearing someone with such a deep walk share their insights about it and the key tools and techniques they use to deepen that, find a sense of direction, utilizing scripture or prayer and things like that. So that was very wonderful to hear.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I tell people all the time, the Bible is, I know people go to church on a Sunday looking to, I know that a lot of times when people show up to church, especially growing up, what I would notice is that they would leave the regulars. They would leave their problems in the car, or they would leave their problems at the house. And when they get to church, they have to put on a facade. They have to put on carry a certain type of mannerism, because people are watching. Judgment is so real. Judgment crucified Jesus, right? So they have to put on the facade. And it's the biggest downfall, because at the end of the day, when you go to church, you're supposed to go there to get that relationship, to get that connection. But it is so hard and so difficult because of spiritual warfare. It becomes hard because, spiritual warfare is real. Those first 3 rows in the church, you got the people that knows how the church operates. They know everything about how the church stays open. They pray over the altar. They pray over the leaders. They pray over the mothers. You got the middle section. The middle section kind of understands, like, all right, we here. I'm gonna pay my tithes. I'm gonna praise them, and I'm gonna be in the car before everybody else gets out. And then you got the back row. The back row, you got the backsliders. You got some of the PK kids back there. You got, so it's a mixture back there, and it's so hard to basically come into church with your true authentic self, because you never know, one, you know how people are going to view you. And if you do come with your authentic self, if you're not there for the right reasons, you'll mess around and catch, a whip of warfare. And then now you're judging the church. Oh, the church is this and the church is that. And they so fake in there and they so this and that, not understanding like the true essence of how people are. Can I be real?
Yeah.
Can I be
Be
100?
real. Be real.
All right. All right. Sunday's best is more about the clothes that you have on. It's more about the service. It's more about, what the message is being said. And it's about people watching, right?
Mhm.
And that's their idea when they come into there. Some people don't really grasp the concept that you're supposed to go there to get information of the Bible, because the Bible is what you're going to use to operate your flesh. It's so when you go in there and you make all these connections and you go in there, I'm not going to say the opposite, because yes, you can fellowship and yes, you can get to know people inside the church. But when you go in there and you put more into people and less into God and the purpose you're there for, and you can't be vulnerable, you'll never really truly get healed. You'll never really make that connection, because you're supposed to go there raw. You're supposed to go there completely vulnerable. You're supposed to go there and be able to lay out before Christ, be filled, and then also carry a bit of discernment to know that the same people that you see on the inside of the church are the same people that you can see on the outside. You have to have a certain type of discernment. If you put too much weight on their character when they disappoint you, that's where the scar tissue comes from. And it's unfair, because it doesn't reflect who God is. It doesn't reflect the relationship that you should have with God. But at the end of the day, people will be people.
This gives me a question now that I'm curious to, let's say you are someone who is not necessarily newer to your spiritual journey, but
Mm.
you're in a state where you know that you are further away than you want to be in that connection. What would you tell that person if they are trying to figure out how to build a relationship with the Lord and pursue this more God first life?
The way I would say to go about doing that is to do it in a place like a quiet place, is to really take that time out to talk to them, even if you can't hear them. That's where you build the faith. That's where you build, trust. Write certain things down. Write down what it is that you're feeling. Write down the doubts that you have. Write down the fears that you have. Write down what it is that you would like for him to do. I would like our relationship to be stronger. I would like to hear from you, God. I would like to understand, but also give me the ability to withstand what you're going to do. Because if I'm asking whatever you ask God for, he's going to do it. But if you don't ask for the ability to be able to brace what it is that he's going to do, then you'll end up backsliding. One of the biggest things that got to me when I was, in transition to being saved was that I seen a lot of like witchcraft and warfare going on, and it made me question the things that I see versus the things that you can't see. The relationship with God is something that you cannot see. So if you really want that relationship with God that obviously you cannot see, you have to go in and really put effort into the relationship. You got to put in what you want out. You got to put in time with him. If you want him to give you that next level in faith, that next level that you are seeking, you got to be able to go in and really put in personal time behind closed doors, behind the scenes, not for everybody to see, not an Instagram post, hey, I'm giving my life to Christ, not a thing where you showing up to Sunday just for people to say, oh, well, she's going to church on Sunday or he's going to church on Sunday. No, you have to really start training your mind to read the Bible. I
Mhm.
started with scriptures every night, every other night. If I miss a night, I'm like, dang, I missed a night. So that next night I'll read 2 chapters. I'll take my time to say, all right, well, God, I'm not really a big prayer. I don't know I can't get down like that, God. So, what can I do? I'll just begin to speak words, have conversation. And I ask God, hey, can you strengthen my prayer life? Can you do this? Can you help me with this area? And then, the more in depth I got into it, the more I was introduced to the Holy Spirit, the more I was introduced to different aspects on maintaining this relationship. So if you really want it, you got to do it. You got to do it like one on one, not for show, not to hold conversation, not to just be like, oh, I could quote 35 scriptures in less than 2 minutes. All right, cool. You could quote them, but can you live it? There's a difference. If I get upset, Lord knows, I used to get upset in a hot second. I look at somebody and be like, you all right? You okay? And I want to like read you to filth. I probably would have. I ain't gonna hold you. But those moments, I used to have to take those scriptures, right, and recognize that, okay, only a fool. The Proverbs tells you that you are a fool. Person that always get angry is a fool. And I'm like, dang. So when those moments come around and somebody cut me off in traffic, I'd be like, so are you a fool or are you a child of God? I'll actually take those scriptures and help me navigate myself on a day-to-day basis. And that's what strengthened my relationship with God.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So, pivoting a little bit, tell us a little bit more about the work you do with women and the empowerment and the directionality that you aid them with.
One of the biggest things that I was trying to do, I was working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours away from my kids and just trying to figure out how can I get business? How can I fund these things? I was spending so much money that I did not have trying to do printing business and learn this and learn these different type of skills. And I'm like, God, I don't see no profit coming for it. If I buy another ebook, if I get another ebook, and I don't see no profit. Like I'm gonna turn this computer and this internet upside down, And I realized that people would give you bits and pieces, but never really give you the whole thing, right? It's like, oh well, I'm not gonna give you all of it because I had to go do 2 years behind this. How does the kingdom of God, how do the people of God, how do the women of God be able to like come up, right? Get these things if we are steady trying to like cripple witty ideas and just, not be iron. Iron sharpens iron. How could I really empower someone if I'm just trickling little things on them or I'm giving them enough, but I don't want to really see them succeed? It became a fuel for me. So during my last maybe 6 or 7 years of me just learning how to do different things with websites, learning how to establish business credit, I realized that there was ways that you can create a business without using your own money. And I learned that also through being an operation manager, being, in different fields from before where they're not using their own money. They're using different ways to set up their business as a separate identity. And when they use that, they build credit over time. And that's how they're able to really establish it. Even if that business failed, it doesn't have anything to do with their personal credit or their personal finances. They'll just go ahead and create another one. Things like that, I feel like our children need to see, because when I create generational wealth, my daughter will create generational wealth. When my son sees me create generational wealth, he will create generational wealth. So it's important for me to be able to share. I feel like God has allowed me to use my life to share different key nuggets and different things to teach people. Now I'm serving food and all I was supposed to do was be a guest, like it's just in me to do it. And I've put the research behind it in order for me to make sure that it's, actual true information. Being in business school, it's updated with the history, the experience. It just gives me so much more of, not, I don't want to say leverage, but God has allowed me to have so much more than the average so that I can really pour back into his people.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that value that you give to the world. It's really cool. And now you were mentioning like how businesses use business credit and all these things that all these different techniques and tools that aren't necessarily talked about that often, but are like the key ways to move forward.
No, absolutely. They'll never tell you. Honestly, when I sat there and I was going through all those business classes, I was like, wait, do people really know that you guys are not using your own money? Y'all not using your own money. Like it takes a little bit of money to get it started, but when I say they're getting funding, like setting up your business from the very beginning matters, all the way down from the email. It matters because once you go in and you have all that stuff structured, you'll just start to get offers. And you're just like, wait, for one of the businesses that I do have, one of the like net 30 accounts that I carry, obviously all those supply stuff that's on there I don't really need, but what I do need is like tissue paper. I do need maybe some cleaning supplies, and that's something I'm going to go into the Walmart and buy anyways. It's something I'm going to go into the grocery store and buy anyways. So why would I not kill two birds with one stone? I go on this business site, I buy it from you guys, I pay you guys off like a credit card, I pay you guys in about 30 days. You guys are now going to report that on my credit. I have it now by the bulk, so I don't have to buy it as much. I'm saving money.
Hmm.
Right? And it's something that is so easy, but at the same time, because people don't know, you're not really aware that it's available to you. And it's actually not hard.
I'm curious, are there any other hidden insights or secrets of the business world that you've come across in your journey that you think people should know?
Absolutely. Especially with AI, you got real estate, you got different aspects. It's the reason why I created Lifestyle Podcast, where I have different people come on from different trades, different sectors of business to share those hidden gems. There is so much out there that we'll have to go into a whole hour segment of breaking things down, not just the structure of it, the marketing part of it, getting out there, stuff like this that we're doing right now. There's so much that goes into it, but it's not overwhelming that you can't get it done. So there is different entities to it. AI, I think the chat GPT that people use this is probably one of the best things out there, especially if you're busy and you got so much things going on. You could just be able to get one of those templates put up together. Canva is one of those things that you could put together as far as like, I want to say like networking to get out there. There are so many different ways for you to find, people that would come on podcasts. There's so many places that you can go to where you can, pass out your business card and you want to be ready and presentable. There's just different, there's a lot.
Where you are right now in your business, what is something you're focused on right now that feels really meaningful or exciting for you and like the growth of your business right now?
Getting to know people
Mm,
out there, sharing information. We're just now coming back out. We're just now launching. So my main focus right now, I know coaching is something that I love. Business structure is something that, it's in me.
mm,
Networking, getting to know people, getting to talk to people, being able to share that testimony. I feel like my kingdom work comes first and everything
mhm.
else comes, it just kind of follows. So although I'm an active coach, my profession, I'm an active business strategist. Kingdom work right now, I feel like is like the most important to me.
When you think of the version of yourself that you're becoming on your journey, what is the vision you have of yourself, like who you are wanting to become, and what is the type of impact that you want to have on the world?
If I would have listened to what people said about me growing up, I would have never been able to step into the place that I am right now.
Mhm.
And the place that I am right now is just the opening door for where I want to go. I want to be able to pour back into not only just women, not only just children, but those that weren't fortunate to have a blueprint,
Mhm.
those that are looking to create a blueprint. I want to be able to pour back into them and not come off as like an example, like, hey, follow me, this is who I am. No, but let them know that no matter where you come from, you're able to defeat the odds. You're able to reset, you're able to grow. And if God would allow me to do conferences, I have this thing where I'm setting up a monthly awareness where it's like $5 where women could just come in. I want to be able to see that platform grow where people are just checking on one another and just find a safe community where you feel like you're heard or you feel like you're supported. It's hard to do that around friends. It's hard to do that around family because of judgment. It's hard to go to the church and do that because, you're afraid if you're your true self, then they might cry with you today, but they'll judge you for it tomorrow. So a lot of people harbor in those things. I would love to build a community where not only that you feel safe, but you know that someone cares for you, someone will motivate you, someone doesn't have intentions, which is one of the biggest things. You'll find that people want to help you because they have their own agenda, they have their own motives, they have their own intentions behind the scene. I would like to share a safe space where it's just like, man, be myself right here. I could talk about what's bothering me. I could freely talk about this and know that not only am I not being judged by it, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be giving false hope, right? I'm not going to say, hey, listen, everything's going to be okay. No, I'm going to tell you, baby, I'm not God, but I can go and pray with you. I can pray with you and tell you my situation. I want to be able to open up, if I could talk about this, Lord, open up different places where I've been through a shelter and I have a project that I would like to get started where it's called Feed God's People, where I would be able to cook every Tuesday and have food delivered off to shelters because you just never really know what someone is facing caught up in everyday life. You never really know that some people just don't want to wake up no more. They don't want to give up no more because today they had nothing to eat or they had nothing to give their children. I want to be able to take what God has given me and be able to just pour back into the community, share that safe space that He gave me, and let them know that the true safe space really comes from God. And this is what I can do is just share my truth.
Yeah, that's a beautiful vision. It is amazing. Well, yeah, this has been such a powerful conversation. Thank you for sharing so openly about your journey with God, about what the work you're doing and the vision you have for the future and how you want to give back to the world. So, very, very beautiful to hear.
Thank you.
Something I like to do at the end of these episodes is to ask if you had to give one insight to business owners or creators out there trying to reach a new level of life while being fulfilled as they do it, what would you tell those out there?
Don't give up.
Mm.
All you need is just one moment to change everything.
Hmm.
So don't give up. Keep going. Whatever you do, don't give up and give it your best.
Well, thank you for sharing with the world. Before we wrap, Coach Chan, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about what you're doing right now?
Guys, you can find me on Lifestyle Podcast. I am on Instagram. It's actually coach underscore underscore Chantel. Once you click on there, you will see everything in the bios from my landing page, my LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on all major platforms that podcast is hosted on. So once you find me on Instagram, I'll make sure that I'll pass that information along.
Thanks again to Coach Chan for sharing such real and thoughtful perspectives. And to all of you tuning in, remember, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you want to change your results, start by becoming the version of you who already has them. This is the Mindful Hustle. Until next time, be bold, be intentional, and keep realizing your reality.